What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video, here to talk to you guys today about subscribing to the channel. Can you believe I'm almost at 5,000 subscribers? Do your part. Please, please, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about my spoiler-ish review of House of Ashes. This is the third game in season 1 of the Dark Pictures anthology. Now, if you have been watching my channel for some time, you know how agitated I was at the previous edition of the game, Little Hope, and I swore off any other Dark Pictures game. Little Hope, by the way, total mess. Lost my save file, corrupted my save file. I never actually got to beat the game. I had to watch the ending on YouTube because I unfortunately was unable to proceed and did not feel like starting over again. And I swore off the game in the series and I said, you guys will never get my money. And then I got a really good deal on this game and I broke down like a house of cards and I bought it and I gave it a chance. And I gotta admit, I'm glad that I did. And I'm sort of back on board with what's going on. We're going to talk about all of that. But before we begin, I just want to say that this game is definitely the best Dark Pictures game that has come out to date. It is still nowhere near the quality of Until Dawn. Until Dawn will always be the best of this type of game. Clearly a much more polished experience, a longer experience, a better technical experience. It's very clear to me that Dark Pictures Anthology, made by Supermassive Games, continues to release games at a very accelerated rate, and very similar to the rise and fall of Telltale Games, specifically when it comes to the technology that goes into how the game is actually created, needs significant TLC. I did play this on PlayStation 5. I did get to experience a 60 frame per second environment, which was great. However, the game still has letterbox. Like, hello, we don't need letterbox graphics. It maybe I don't even like it in movies, but in a video game, like, come on, man. Like, we don't need letterbox. So you're already losing a large portion of the screen already. So that was one of the big problems that I had. And it still, from a technical standpoint, suffers on many, many levels. The way that scenes jump from one to another are not fluid. Sometimes the music just stops abruptly. Sometimes like mid-action or like almost mid-sentence, it'll just jump to something else. A lot of the characters seem to have this weird nervous twitch about them, where when they're talking, they're like doing this. I'm not kidding you. Their arms and their faces are all over the place. It's very distracting. And this is a very serious subject matter. This game takes place, obviously, in a fictional universe because there aren't aliens that invaded Earth. But this game takes place during the fall of the Iraqi army, during the invasion from the United States. And this team of elite warriors, these United States Marines, and I believe there's even that one of the guys is from the Air Force and a CIA operative as well, is sent to this massive chasm that they think is a holdout for Iraqi weapons. So like nuclear weapons that could be utilized against the United States or her allies. And this team is sent in to stop that. What they find is definitely not nuclear weapons. It's something much, much different and sinister and diabolical. And I'll leave that for you guys to play and see exactly how that all pans out. But what I will say is, when you're hearing characters carry around these big guns and they're talking and doing this, it's very hard to take the subject matter seriously because of how ridiculous it looks and how nonsensical it is. Now, this game does feature quite a bit of zoomed in camera angles, which really puts you in the action, which is awesome because there's a lot of jump scares. And there's definitely a lot of those quick time events that, if you fail, could spell certain doom. So it's easy to get kind of lulled into the beautiful graphics and how amazing the game runs at 60 frames a second and how polished some of the game is, and then only to be caught off guard because you didn't press triangle fast enough, and as a result, a character might die or something bad's going to happen. Like, oh my God. And you got to like jump and be ready to react. Now, there's plenty of accessibility features you can put on the game that allow you to make it a much more forgiving experience if you're just here for the story in of itself. And I think that's the biggest problem, is despite some of the technology that has gone in to make the game easier to play, you're still going to be frustrated by some of the decisions that the characters made, not because of the way the game input handles it, but because of the way the story is framed. And I'll give you a very, very brief example, a very early on example that radically changed my playthrough, and I didn't even realize it. One of the very first things you have to do as the team flying in is you have to determine if you want to go in as a small infantry group with very minimal cover fire, or if you want to go in basically guns a-blazing with top air support and lots of ground forces to kind of help secure this area. I thought about it from a strategic mindset, and I said, well, I don't want them to know we're coming, so let's just go in with a small group. That simple decision radically changes the outcome of 3 characters leading into the end of the game, should you have gotten them that far. It's stuff like this that just kind of takes you back. It's like, I went through, that's like one of the first decisions you make, by the way. I went through this entire game, and I was very meticulous about things that I looked for in looting and thinking through some of the decisions. You don't have a lot of time to think. Am I nice to this person? Am I mean? Am I aggressive? Do I open fire? Do I hide? You're working through these things, trying to keep these characters alive, and then only to the end to find out some bullcrap decision you made at the very beginning of the game radically changes the outcome of some characters is just nonsensical. It really is. And this happens quite a bit, where you'll find something, and if you don't pick it up or you don't want to take the item for yourself, then maybe no one will come by behind you to grab it, or maybe somebody will come by to grab it, and that will be the thing that saves their life, or not. These are the layered decisions that start to kind of lose some of the momentum, because at the end, I definitely did not feel in control of my character's fates. And I'll let you know that of the 5 main characters that you play with, I lost 2, and I lost them both in the last maybe 15 minutes of the game after navigating through what I thought was a pretty well played through experience, where I was doing a pretty good job of nailing quick time events and uncovering the lore and trying to be a smarter player so that my characters could be more informed about some of the decisions they make. Just like in all other games, the smarter your characters are may open up additional paths or additional actions that may make the playthrough easier for you. And this was all done spoiler free. This was me just playing through the game, but just logically thinking about things I wanted to look for, or diaries I wanted to read, or making some of those connections as I had characters talk to each other. So that is a satisfying element when a character is like, oh, because I saw you do this, therefore this can happen and I'll be safe. I like that. What I don't like is these nonsensical, weird decisions that really cost me 2 characters' lives for no reason other than because game decided the way the skill tree flows out that I hadn't fulfilled certain conditions, or because I had done something way over here, it's going to impact the decision way over here. And that drives me nuts. And I don't see any of that changing, unfortunately, going forward in these games. I understand it's a very robust skill tree. If you want to see this system done very, very well, check out Detroit Become Human. There, at the end of each level, it will show you an entire list of every possible decision you could have made and where all the different spawn-off points are and what percentage of players chose things and what should you have done here, what decision did you make, what skill check did you do, how fast did you answer a question, or whatever. Here, you're kind of just left like, what? And you got to go look in the wiki, and it's like, oh, if you wanted this person to survive, these following 9 conditions had to be met beforehand, some of which are totally nonsensical to the decision. That frustrates me, in case you couldn't tell. The technical aspect of the game still needs a lot of work, but despite all that, because it's a choose-your-own-adventure game, you are really in control of these characters' destinies for the most part. And for the most part, I can definitely say I was very satisfied with the way that my character relations evolved throughout the game. And characters that I was mean to didn't stick their neck out for me when I needed them. And characters that I was nice to naturally, we got along together. There's a definite subtone of this game where, like, the end of me and my enemy is my friend. It's a theme that is beat over your head many times, but it had a very satisfying payoff, at least in my playthrough. So I was happy that I was able to see people from opposite sides of the fence, so to speak, to be able to come together to fight a common problem. And that was really, really cool. But there were a few instances, particularly in the opening 15 or so minutes of the game, where I was a total jerk because I felt like these were throwaway characters and it was just kind of teaching you the systems of, like, how to make decisions and how to walk around and how to loot and whatever, where I intentionally did something that was a total dick move. And it made me laugh hysterically when I basically sentenced somebody to a very poor fate. Although it did come back to bite me later on. So maybe that's my punishment. Lastly, I'll say, and this is just a general note about this game, going back to the twitchy, goofy characters. When you are making a decision with your character, a little wheel will pop up. And you'll have an option A, an option B, or a do nothing. And sometimes do nothing is the right thing to do. If somebody's yelling at you, maybe it's better to just zip it. I don't want to say anything. The right thumbstick, at least on the PlayStation 5, is the way you select one of those options. But for whatever bizarre reason, that is also the same key or the same button press that is mapped to character decision in terms of the way they move their head. So if you want to tell an option to, like, the option is on the right, when you move the right thumbstick, your character will do this. And the do nothing is up. So if two characters are arguing, it's like, what do you think? Your character will do this. It's so bizarre. It just goes back to this just breaking, like, the genre. Like, when a character's talking, holding a gun, and they're, like, doing this, and it's like, what do you think we should do? We're about to get eaten alive. And your guy's like, just, you can't help but laugh. I can't make this stuff up. If you're gonna buy this game, buy it on budget. It's gonna last you about 5 hours. They did add this Curator Mode, which is basically a second playthrough with some kind of alternate things. You can play this game with your friends if you're into the couch co-op stuff. I like to play it alone and own my decisions, but do not pay full price for this game. It's definitely not to that level yet. I will eventually get into The Devil Within Me, or The Devil in Us, or whatever the latest one is called, once it goes on deep discount, just like I got this one. So it's going to be a while before you hear from me again on another Dark Pictures anthology review. But for now, that will wrap up this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.